So behind me here is Mount Ruapehu, which is a active volcano which people snowboard and ski on in our central volcanic plateau of the North Island. At the end of 2022, I came here and did a video exactly the same spot. Where my van's parked right now was underwater, but now it's all dried out, as you can see, and that wasn't visible at the time. That huge volcano there is Mount Ruapehu. You could see Ngātahoe over there in my video, but in this video you can't see it because it's behind the clouds. So in 2022, when I came here and I was driving through to the Resolution Festival that year, I did a video on projections. And here I am in 2024, in February 2024. It's a bit dark in my camera, so you probably can't see my face, but I'll talk anyway. Due to how the van's parked and how the light is. But here I am again talking about projections. What happened to me last Sunday? Today's a Saturday the 23rd, I think, of February 2024. Last Sunday night, I had a situation where two people projected their bullshit onto me. And I say bullshit not in a mean and spiteful way, but in a way that's like unnecessary. An unnecessary projection onto me. And I guess in some ways, when you're more that you hold the light and you're more authentic and vulnerable in your connections with people, those people who are in their subconscious or in their unconscious that brings up for them their own personal work, and they get triggered by being around you. And by being around you, when they're triggered, in my experience anyway, when they're triggered, they bring up their projections, their trauma, their lack of boundaries, especially the lack of boundaries and their inability to have boundaries often, and they project that energy, they project those traumas, those wounds onto you. And last week, two people in the space of 10 minutes projected their wounds, their traumas, their triggers, their woundings onto me, and I wasn't going to stand for it. You know, there's a point in my life I felt when my boundaries are crossed, when people project onto me what's theirs and what's not mine, right? What's theirs is theirs. When they project it onto me, it feels like it's unnecessary in every way possible. And the fact that they're actually doing it to me is offensive. It's an insult. And I mean that sincerely. It's an insult for people who are unaware. From me now, when I have the experience of someone projecting onto me, I find it insulting if they're conscious, and if they speak like they are conscious, and if they act like they are conscious, and they're aware, they're self-aware. And luckily for me, in my connection with one of these individuals that projected onto me, that individual, one of the individuals of the two, had the graciousness and the sincerity to apologize for me for his projections onto me, and realized I had triggered him by being who I was. By simply being who I was, I had triggered him to act in a way that he had projected onto me his own insecurities, his own jealousies, his own issues, and by doing that, had used me as a mirror for him to see that which he needed to work on. The other individual who projected onto me wasn't so gracious at all, and told me that she was just telling me how she felt, when she actually said to me something about in regards to she crossed my boundaries, and she said that I crossed her boundaries when that she invited me into her house, asked me to have dinner with her, and then actually hung up with me for the whole night. And when the night had finished and I went back to my van to go to sleep, the next day I got up and had breakfast with her because she made me breakfast the next day. When I left that night, she said to me that I'd crossed her boundaries, had come to her house when she asked me not to come around to her house, had told me that she didn't want me in the house in the first place, and wanted some space and some time away from people because she had done a big day of workshops. And the truth was, she had invited me into her house, she had asked me to stay for dinner. I was happy all I wanted to do was to go around to her house and pull two cards from her magical card decks, animal spiritual guides, and also the healing botanical fortune telling cards as well. When I went in there to do this, all I wanted to do was pull 2 cards and then walk away and leave. When I went in there, I pulled my cards. She invited me for dinner, and I wanted to leave, but she said, "You want to stay for dinner?" So I stayed for dinner, and then after that, I was about to leave, and I stayed for dinner. I had a chat to her. The next day, I got up, had breakfast with her, and then I was ready to leave. And I left her house, only to have that night, later on that night, for her to tell me that I'd crossed all these lines for her. And I was just like, that's not my problem. You haven't got strong boundaries, but you made it my problem by projecting onto me your own inability to create strong boundaries. And that's not about me, it's about her, but her projections were just simply fucking rude, in my perception anyway. You know, if you can't create limitations, create stronger boundaries with people, it's nothing to do with me. It's your stuff, not mine. Not my stuff, it's yours. And that's what people need to become more self-aware of in this time, I think. To become more aware of the fact that we need to have stronger boundaries. Yes, indeed, energetically and physically, mentally, spiritually. But own your space enough, own your own personal space, your mental, physical, spiritual space, to be able to set those boundaries with people when you can. And if you can't, at least be honest with yourself that you can't, and don't project it onto other people, right? And the situation I had before that as well, after that actually, the guy that projected onto me in regards to his situation, his jealousies, insecurities, got nothing to do with me. I'm only being who I am, and that individual projected onto me because he felt insecure about who I was, my authenticity, my realness. When I was doing that, he just basically said to me the stuff that he did, and when he said what he said to me, basically it was really about his own stuff, not mine. And by doing that, he pushed me away energetically in so many ways, and my friendship with him now is strained, to say the least. Anyway, thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. How's the view? Not bad, eh? Mate wa. I'll see you again soon.